2025. Welcome to the school committee meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, is being recorded and may be accessed via WebEx. The meeting link is on the calendar at burlington.org. And it looks like we don't have any remote members, so I'm not going to read that. If connectivity is lost and we have a quorum in person, the meeting will continue. And I will go ahead and read the equity statement. Educational equity means that every child belongs and receives whatever support he, she, they need to develop his, her, their full academic, emotional, and social potential to learn and thrive every day. This begins with kindness and valuing the humanity of every child or individual. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the warrant. Anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Chris?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Aye.
And the chair is a yes, so that's 400.
We don't need roll call, do we?
I don't think we need roll call for that,
Okay.
because we're all here. We're not, no one's online. All right. Approval of the meeting minutes for 6/24/25.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right. Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Megan? Oh,
Yeah.
I guess I could do all in favor. I know what you're saying. I'd like to call it out. Jeremy?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye, so it's 400. I don't have to do a roll call, but I am. Okay, and next item up is public participation. Anybody like to participate? Come on up. And please identify yourself, even though I know who you are.
My name is William Manka. I'm here today to discuss something you already know. This district has a dangerous pattern of miscommunication and complete lack of accountability. Time and time again, serious incidents have put our children at risk and shattered the trust of this community. To begin, in February of 2022, students at Memorial Elementary were sent home to walk home even though the school knew that there was an active manhunt for two criminals nearby, one armed. This was a complete disregard for student safety, and when asked, the principal said that it was handled properly. Around 2020, people reported that school doors were being propped open, but the district ignored these warnings. Even now, the school is still propping doors open, and I have photographic proof for anyone interested. Several other instances occurred in the intervening years, but I will focus on the two most recent. In October and later months in 2024, there were two cases where one student threatened a mass act of terrorism on the middle school campus, and another one where a student brought in a knife and showed it to others that could have easily been used to cause severe injury. The terrorism threat was given a 3-day suspension. I remind you that this person committed a felony and was given a 3-day suspension. With the person bringing in a deadly weapon, they got 5-day suspension. Reckless behavior and felonies should not equate to a slap on the wrist. Unlike the past, parents were not notified about these incidents. In fact, neither of these recent incidents was at all disclosed to the families of Burlington. Up until this point, I am one of only a few people to know about these cases, and so far, all parents not directly involved in these incidents were kept in the dark and never told about this. The communication in this district has fallen apart. Very recently, we had the survey where there was no accountability by the district, which instead chose to blame JSI, who gave a very detailed explanation of the controversial changes to Dr. Connie before administering it. But Dr. Connie still blames JSI because he doesn't know how to read an email. They have hidden and tried to bury the investigation, which was riddled with grammatical mistakes and information showing the truth, that Conti and the rest of the district
Out of order, you don't call him by his last name only.
I'm sorry, I messed that up. The truth that Dr. Condi and the rest of the district were responsible. These repeated, preventable failures have put children at risk, eroded trust, and left families in the dark. Every day that goes by without meaningful change, we are failing our students. How many more of our children are we willing to put at risk before we are willing to take accountability? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Jamie Weber, I'm back again because it just seems to be, I'd like it to end. I don't
Oh, hold
know
on a
about you.
second. Just sit down, please, and then we'll go ahead and get you started, okay? So let me get my timer going. This one didn't stop yet. Okay, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry about that.
So I'm back again because we still don't have a set forth policy for the YRBS, and we've asked for transparency now for months, but we just keep getting pushed off and delayed. So I'm going to read an email that was dated Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, that Dr. Conti sent out, and it says, "Greetings. I was exonerated tonight over the middle school YRBS. JSI added some language to the definition of intercourse and added some identity language that set off a group of parents. Please make sure that you have your school committee support for the survey or support from your respective wellness committees. Also, we had several teachers not honor parent opt-out requests. Please make sure teachers allow any students who is uncomfortable to skip the survey. Be careful with the survey, especially at the middle school. Although very similar in 2023, we are in different times now. Best, Eric Conti." So this was a deliberate, just ignorance to our children and our safety. There were multiple failures from Eric Conti all the way down through your administration. There was never an accountability from the Wellness Committee. There was never any accountability for the health or the health director and the mental health director, and then multiple school committee members. Nobody vetted the questions. We have established that. And he also says that JSI is to blame. I'm going to read another email that was from JSI that was dated March 5th, where it says, "Hello, I'm attaching our final versions of the survey along with a document highlighting which changes were made and providing reason for the choices we made. We did our best to accommodate data and weigh requests from other districts. Please take a look at these surveys and let us know if there is anything we missed. We'll be sending the surveys to be translated later this week, and then they will be ready to be sent out." So it's clear that JSI did inform you of the language change, did inform you of the proper appropriation of the information, and none of you vetted it. It was just released to the students, and the parent opt-outs weren't honored. And 8 months later, we still have no accountability. We have no transparency. We have a joke of a subcommittee meeting today at noon, which, by the way, I couldn't make. But the fact that this isn't a mandatory opt-in policy only, and the fact that we keep going around in circles is disgusting. We voted you to represent our children and to keep our children safe, and we're battling with you constantly. This could be a done deal if you actually listen to what the parents have expressed and actually came up with a policy that not only respected our children, but respected the policy of an opt-in.
Okay, time's up. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? All right, thank you. We appreciate your comments. So we'll go ahead and move on to subcommittee reports. And I know, Jeremy, you had requested from
Yes.
our Melissa.
Yeah.
There's
Give
Bob, you
second
have
to
something you
pull up
want
a
to put up
slide.
on that form?
So as everybody knows, the Marcia Simons Field Subcommittee has been back at it, trying to adjust the plan based on the new footprint from conservation. We had a meeting, was it last week? Voted on a design to move forward and bring through for notice of intent to conservation. We're bringing it to the school committee, hopefully by the next meeting. Somewhere mid-September, we're going to vote for those. Can I just, do you see the screen, Bob? Because I need to talk through it. So, yeah, no worries. basically. So yeah, we're going to bring that to the next school committee, hopefully. We're going to meet mid-September. There's a few adjustments that committee members asked for. We're going to incorporate those into the plan and then have it brought to the school committee for approval and then pushed through for the notice of intent. The rest of planning, permitting, the rest. So we're ready to go for April, May of next year to break ground to get the field installed. So what you're looking at here is the revised footprint. So going from the top of the screen, I'm going to work my way down around to the right clockwise. So in that blue area that goes across the top and down to the right is the new wetland delineation, which caused us to have to adjust the field. So instead of going 2 fields east-west oriented, we went north-south-ish. What you see here is on the top field, it's about a half field, which is a U10 soccer field, which will have multi-field striping. On either end, right and left, you'll have some participant seating. Moving down the picture in between the 2 fields is a walkway that goes all the way around the larger field, and those walkways will be extended to the max extent possible up the small field. Moving again down the picture is a full lacrosse soccer field with adequate back off to move the nets, store the nets, et cetera. And again, as you're moving down the field from center field, there's some seating area along the bottom edge in between the field and existing brush field. Moving to the right of the large field, you'll see an accessible walkway that makes its way down to the field from the parking area above and the terrace seating with 2 lanes for accessible seating as well. So folks that have wheelchairs, there'll be 2 concreted, fully concreted steps so they can sit anywhere on the seating they'd like. We retained the emergency access in the lower left-hand corner of the large field, so there's going to be a slide out so we can bring ambulances in or any kind of emergency service if we needed. We were able to retain lighting and optimize it for the field to get adequate lighting for both fields, and then the scoreboards will be part of that field as well. Any questions to this point?
I have a question.
So just through the chair, there's also the lacrosse wall, too.
Yeah, oh, so, good call. Yeah, Dr. Yeah, I did miss one feature. So if you're looking at the upper field, the half field, to the right of that, to the right of the seating, there is a bounce back wall that is 20 feet wide that you can use for lacrosse and soccer. That was one of the changes that was asked, basically because kids will be static, kicking balls and throwing balls there. The grass will get torn up, so we're going to put a patch of turf in there. Some benefits this gives us is that small field's not going to be used as robustly because it's only for a U10 soccer field, so we think we will get longer lifespan out of that field. It'll allow us to serial the replacements of the turf with brush field to get into predictable patterns, so we're not absorbing large cost volumes, replacing all 3 fields at once. So when these fields do have to be replaced, brush can be replaced, the large field can be replaced, then that small field can be replaced. We think we'll get some more use out of it as well. So that was the major changes, and there was some adjustments to where lighting was, and then landscaping as well. We're going to try to put as many trees in as we can. The positive impact of this is while the schedule is affected, it looks like we will realize some cost savings. What that is, we're not quite sure yet, but we will realize some cost savings and try to reinvest that back into the project and then turn back money into the town as we can.
Chris?
I don't know how big the committee is, but was everyone in agreement on this?
Yeah, so it was unanimously voted 9-0-0
Great,
for that. Not the whole committee showed up. There was a few conflicts with the meeting, but
excellent.
they will have another chance to get a crack at this when we vote final mid-September. So any folks that didn't attend the previous meeting can weigh in at the next meeting.
Thanks.
And Jamie, if you want to come up and ask your question up here in regards to the field?
So in regards to the field, I had a question about the scoreboards because we had an issue with the scoreboards for the JV field hockey girls, multiple issues with Sean Hart. Originally, the JV teams were not allowed a scoreboard or a time clock, and when we approached Mr. Hart initially, our initiative was turned down and not met with warmth and empathy. He kind of tried to like block us. So parents organized and the JV coaches organized, and we had come up with a plan to let kids that needed volunteer hours to get volunteer hours by running the time clocks for the JV games. We eventually got it worked out, but Mr. Hart did not support us. So I want to know if we're going to be running into the same issues with these scoreboards, because regardless if it's JV or varsity, it should be important that the scoreboards are used and that people going to attend these games and parents that are supporting their young athletes and female athletes, we should keep that in mind. So I want to make sure that that's not going to be an issue, and if I need to spearhead a committee to make sure that won't be an issue, I will take the initiative to do that as well. But we should be allowed to access those scoreboards and use them for JV games.
Thank
We
you.
shouldn't have issues like this.
Thank you.
Yes, that one's a kind of an easy softball, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So the scoreboards that we are looking at are the same scoreboards that are on Brushfield, and they have access through the coaches through a web app that they can use the scoreboard. So it should not be an issue for any sports utilizing the field. If it's a organized youth sport, right, and above, Bob, because we're not giving it out to random town folks for that.
Through the chair.
Yep.
I don't know if it's that extensive. I think for school-related,
Yeah.
that would go through Sean Hart. I think if it's town-related and the town releases it, then that would go through the rental process.
Sure, what I'm saying is they'll have access for the high school sports and all the school sports.
That's the intention.
Yep.
So is there any like bylaw that like we can put in, or is there like, I mean, we never really understood why we got blocked initially, and I do not want to be blocked again. I mean, we should be, JV should be
know
able
what,
to have the
Yeah.
time clocks.
We can look into that. Yeah, I think we can.
Definitely shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, we can get
design.
back to you on that.
Not the intention, so, I mean, again, through
Well,
the
it
chair.
didn't seem like it wasn't the intention.
Okay.
It was very difficult working Mr. Hart from the scoreboards. It was
Right.
actually shameful.
Thank you.
Especially for the athletes.
Megan.
Thank you, Catherine. I just wanted to give a shout out to Bob for the idea of separating the fields with the walkway. I think it's a great idea so that we can replace them individually instead of on the same schedule. I think that's a great benefit to this design. So I just wanted to say that. I thought that was great, Bob. Thank you.
But I
Anyone else?
have the previous emails
What?
about the issue if you'd like me to.
Jamie, please, out of order, please. All right. Anyone else have a question about the field or comment? Okay,
That's all I had.
thank you for the update. Any other,
Oh, I do have one, sorry, one alibi. We had a recreation meeting last night. The fall schedule will be out within the next week. The full gamut of fall, Trucktober, tree lighting, and all the other events through October and December. Dates are published, and Rec's putting on a full complement.
thank you. Any other subcommittee?
We'll get to policies. We had policy subcommittee meeting, but we'll get to them on the
We'll
agenda.
get to that later, okay. Thank you. Ways and Means?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subcommittee had some informal questions that Mr. Kuna was able to address for us. Otherwise, we have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. All right, any other announcements? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. And the next item is Learning, Equity, and Thriving, and I believe there's an out-of-state.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The field trip being requested is for the marching band. The trip would be August 23rd, which is before the start of the school year. It has been traditional to take the band members to Hampton Beach on the last day of band camp. NRT provides the transportation. Chaperones would be the advisors for band camp. Tim Ketterer, Fadine Satirial, and other staff. Buses would leave the high school at 8 a.m., return at 4 p.m. There would be approximately 40 students going on this trip. Students would provide their own lunch. So it's recommended the school committee approve out-of-state travel for the band to go to Hampton Beach on August 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair is an aye, so it's 400.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next agenda item is the destruction of old outdated protocols, evaluation instruments, and curriculum. And again, this is really out of the special education office, and these are assessments where there are newer versions available. So the out-of-date assessments are Saxon Math, the Woodcock-Johnson Cognitive 3, the Woodcock-Johnson Achievement 4, the comprehensive testing of phonological processing, testing of language development, test of narrative language, We have a bunch of other assessments in memory learning, and the Welsher Intelligence Scale for Children, the 4th edition, and Key Math, and then we have some out-of-date curriculum that used to be part of the special education, and that is Saxon Math and Developmental Reading Assessment Tools. We're no longer utilizing those. It's recommended the committee vote to approve these are out-of-date materials, destruction of the old outdated protocols, evaluation instruments, and curriculum.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, so 400.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did have a policy subcommittee meeting today, and it was, we discussed this is going to be a first reading, so the process, as you all know, is this is a first reading. The vote will be on the September 9th meeting. It'll take 4 votes to move the policy forward. These drafts were written by the committee's labor attorney, Darren Klein, and he broke them into 2 parts. And I think in your packet, there's the non-educational student survey questionnaires research first, and then the YRBS second. I'd like to go in reverse order, if that's okay with everybody. The non-educational surveys are a little bit more detailed. So the draft policy, and I had some copies in the back of the room. This policy applies to the youth risk behavior survey. Each time the survey is to be given, the YRBS survey, including all questions and responses, should be reviewed by the Wellness Committee, and the Wellness Committee should make recommendations to the school committee. The determination as to whether the district should participate in the YRBS survey, as well as determining the suitability of the survey questions and responses, will be made by the full school committee with notice to the public and the opportunity for open discussion. If approved by the school committee, the YRBS survey, including all of the questions and responses, must then have the approval of the superintendent or their designee in advance, and the results shared with the superintendent or their designee. The YRBS survey will be a model provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and/or the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. So they'll be publicly available surveys. A link to the survey will be available on the school district website. Neither state nor federal law requires prior written consent from a parent or guardian for administration of the YRBS survey. The YRBS survey is optional, and the information is provided unanimously and does not reveal identifiable information about a student. The school committee will also determine for each approved time the YRBS survey is given, or even if it is given, whether to utilize an opt-in or an opt-out procedure. So Darren, again, provided you both. I think what his thinking was that you can determine whether you want an opt-in or opt-out depending on the content of the survey, what you want to see, and he felt it provided you more flexibility. The opt-in...
Out of order.
The opt-in or the opt-out policy, again, has some specifics, and you'll see some consistency through them. The opt-in policy is, again, I'll just read it because I think that's the easiest way to go here. Under the policy, no student shall be administered the YRBS without the prior consent, this is for the opt-in again, of the student, if the student is an adult or an emancipated minor, or in the case of an unemancipated minor, without the prior written consent of the parent or guardian. The district shall provide parents and guardians with notice at least 30 calendar days before the YRBS is administered. The notice shall include information regarding the process to provide consent for the student to participate in the YRBS. If express consent is not received for a student to participate in the YRBS, the student will not be allowed to participate. When notifying parents and guardians of the scheduled YRBS surveys and their rights to opt in, their student, the notification should be made on multiple occasions using, to the greatest extent possible, multiple means of communication. So that addresses the feedback that the single parent square notification was insufficient. The notice shall inform parents, guardians, and students that participation in the YRBS is voluntary, and students who do not participate will not be penalized, and that the district will take reasonable and appropriate precautions to protect student privacy during their participation. Parents or guardians wishing to inspect the YRBS may do so in the school's administrative offices or other locations as designed. Again, we were saying these are standard surveys, so they would also be sort of available online publicly. Parents or guardians may make this decision with or without reviewing the survey. Students who have not opted in to the survey will not be provided with access to a link to the survey. The district will ensure that non-opted-in students are removed from the list of students receiving the link, because that was also an issue that we had as well. So that would be the opt-in. The opt-out, again, this would be part of the public conversation with the school committee at the time. It's the same 30 days. It's the same multiple means of communicating with parents, and again, communicating with parents through multiple measures. So I can read it if you want, but I think it's relatively straightforward if you want to see sort of the opt-in or opt-out. So again, Darren felt like the survey would come to the full committee. The full committee would take a vote on the content of the survey. There might be areas that are more important or not more important. Once voted and agreed to that the survey would be given, again, it doesn't have to be given, but if it were agreed to be given, then the committee would decide whether there should be an opt-in or an opt-out, and then both have the 30 days, both have written consent or written opting in or opting out required, and then they both have a requirement that we would provide multiple mechanisms and multiple ways of communicating that to parents. So Darren felt that this addressed a lot of the concerns. He did watch the meetings, he did read the report, and felt like this also reflected some of the discussion of committee members moving forward. Certainly I would take comments from the subcommittee, but I think you've both felt, and you can speak to it, that we should move this as a first reading to the full committee for discussion. And again, you're not voting the policy tonight. This is just a first reading. If there's feedback, we can incorporate that feedback. I'll get that to Darren, and he can include that moving forward. I think the vote for the second reading would be September 9th, and Darren has committed to be available on September 9th if you have any direct questions.
Thank you. Okay. Question?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, so every time this is administered, we're going to vote opt-in or opt-out?
Yes.
It seems a little underdefined, which would leave parents questioning, hey, is this your opt-in or is it opt-out? I think we need to be a little more definitive in what we do, one way or the other. Because again, I think everyone knows my preference is opt-in, but opt-outs failed us before, so I think we need to be a little more definitive and say it's going to be this way or it's going to be that way, because again, it removes ambiguity in how it will be administered. Just my personal opinion there on that one.
Ms. Monaco?
I'd like to go over the points that I think are important.
Excuse me? Go ahead, Chris.
So clearly, when we tried to do an opt-in or an opt-out policy, we couldn't pass one because we don't have 4 votes for either. So I think what this does in conjunction with the other policy that we also are talking about tonight, all surveys, questionnaires of this that are not educational, part of everyday educational stuff, all surveys will come to this committee, and this committee will be able to decide whether or not to give the survey and whether or not to make it an opt-in or an opt-out. So it isn't just the YRBS that we would be deciding. We could, if the superintendent brought us a YRBS, we could say, no, we don't want to give it at all. We don't want to give YRBS for the next, pick a number of years. Jamie, please stop it.
You're out of order, please.
So both policies put the onus on us as a committee to look at what's in the survey, the questionnaire, decide, A, do we want to give it or not? B, whether or not it will be an opt-in or an opt-out. And I think over time, that could morph into changes with, future school committees. But for the time being, in order to get any policy at all, I think we're going to have the committee decide on each and every questionnaire or survey. And one of the things that I like about this policy is that it says if we give the YRBS, and I'm not sure that we will, but if we give it, we will give the version that is given nationally. It won't be a specific to Massachusetts or specific to Middlesex League. It will be the national survey. So while I understand what you're saying and what your point is, I think that in order to get any policy passed, we're going to have to leave that up to the discretion of the committee at the time that the policy comes to us.
I mean, it's a fair point. I'm willing to consider that. I guess the only question I'd have is, just what was the feedback out of today's policy meeting? Because we had this version, in our packets as of Friday last week.
I read this one at today's meeting for.
Was there any changes, any comment, any
No.
discussion on it?
No, it's it's the most recent one that Darren sent us.
I guess what I'm saying is what was discussed at the meeting. So was there any changes proposed? Was there any language updates proposed, anything like that? Or is it just no changes proposed this time? Okay.
And through the chair, there was discussion with the people that were present, and there were questions, but there was not, hey, we need to do this. We'd like, to see X, Y, and Z added, really in a substantial way. I think that this policy is a good compromise, as Chris mentioned. We need 4 out of 5 of us to agree. And as a school committee, we're the reflection of the community's values, and committees change over time, and I think this gives us an opportunity to address each survey as it comes forward and decide, is this what we think the community wants, first and foremost, and then, hey, given the content of this survey, do we think that this is an opt-in or an opt-out? I think that it's the best way to move forward as a committee and make sure that we are doing the things that we are mandated to do as well. We have things that we have to do coming up, and we need to make sure that we have a policy in place so that we can meet the obligations that the state requires us.
Thank you. Any other comments? Just to remind people that many of the opt-in and opt-out things apply not only to things like the YRBS, but also to, vision and hearing and all of those.
Scoliosis, spine, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that this applies to, through the chair. I
So
apologize.
I know you wanted to talk about them separately, but I just sort of lumped them together. I mean, it's the same policy, but YRBS is separated, and then everything else is lumped into the other one.
Right. Did you want to go ahead, Eric, and go on to the next one and talk about it? Or maybe let Chris kind of.
No, I can. So in terms of frequency, the YRBS is typically biannual, but we do a lot of other non-educational surveys and screenings that we wanted to sort of expand the policy to include. So that was the second version, and again, so Darren thought separating them would be clearer, and then we had also gotten some feedback about making the surveys available year-round, not just prior to when we're doing them. So there would be a list of all the surveys that we use, information, the survey itself or the screener itself, and then whether it was mandated by the state and whether there's an opt-out that is allowed to do that. So the policy that we're reviewing now, again, as a first reading, would be the non-educational student surveys, and I want to sort of go through some of the surveys that we're talking about, and we're working on the format for putting this out and making it available. So One of the screeners that we use is through our, the Wayfinder, which is our social emotional learning program. That is not a state mandated, but there is an opt-out option. That is grade levels K to 12. We would make that survey available. Again, parents could click on that anytime and then opt in or opt out their child from that particular screener if that's what they so chose to do. The next one is called the Screening Brief Intervention and Referral for Treatment. It's called SBIRT. It's the state acronym, sorry about that. That's for students in grades 7 and 10, and that is a state mandated survey, and it does have an opt-out. So again, parents could review that, if they wanted to opt their child out of that state mandated non-educational screener, that they could do that. That is about I think it's about, it's personal, so that students are interviewed, so we know who the students are, and again, it's a state mandated screening experience. And again, the description of that screener, it's intended to identify substance and risk behaviors and improve health, safety, and resilience. So that's what the state's intention is, but parents would look at that. Another screener we have is Vision Screener, and that is state mandated. There's also an opt-out option for vision screening, and that is, again, something that we would make available for parents to opt out of. There is a hearing screening that is state mandated. And again, there's an opt-out option for that, and parents could look at that, and that's sort of annually K to 3, and then one time through grades 6 to 8, and one time sort of grades 9 to 12, and there would be an opportunity for parents to opt out. What I like about having them available sort of all year and opting out, that we would have a record of the opt-out that we could move forward with. The other screener that is state mandated is the Body Mass Index screener, and that's grades 1, 4, 7, and 10. There is an opt-out option, and again, that's state mandated. And then similar is the Postural Scoliosis screener, and again, that is state mandated with an opt-out option by the state, and that gets grades 5 to 9. So we would make all of these surveys when we were doing them available for parents to see, check, and then opt out of. We do a school climate survey in December, which you've all seen the results of. That is, we're gathering feedback from students and families about aspects of our school environment. It's sort of an option for us to get feedback. That is not mandated by the state. That's something that we do. There is an opt-out option, and so again, we would make that available for parents to opt out of. That's typically, again, in December. Questions that include safety, student belonging, do they feel supported, those type of questions, and you've all seen the results of that. And that helps us look at changing our programs and our positive behavioral incentives that we use. And then the state also provides a climate that is attached to the MCAS test, and so that is voluntary, and it hasn't proven very useful for us because as we discussed earlier today, the students sit for an MCAS test for an hour, 2 hours, and then they're asked to reflect on school, and you can imagine they're not necessarily reflecting that positively on the school process. So again, so that would be sort of the type of screeners that we are talking about related to the non-educational student surveys, questionnaires, and research. So I will, again, read it down again for this policy, and the opt-in and opt-out language is very similar except for sort of one change, so I don't need to read all of that. But this policy applies to all non-educational student surveys and/or questionnaires implemented, used, and conducted by the school district. For purposes of this policy, non-educational survey or questionnaire means surveys, questionnaires, or other documents designed to elicit information about a student's social behavior, family life, religion, politics, sexual orientation, sexual activity, drug use, or as otherwise may be defined by applicable state or federal law. No student shall be required, as part of any applicable program, to submit to a non-educational student surveys or questionnaires without the prior consent of the student, if the student is an adult or an emancipated minor, or in the case of an unemancipated minor, without the prior written consent of the parent, that reveals information concerning, and here's the 1 through 8, political affiliations or beliefs of the student or the student's parent. 2, mental or psychological problems of the student or the student's family. 3, sex behavior or attitudes. 4, illegal, antisocial, self-incriminating, or demeaning behavior. 5, critical appraisals of other individuals with whom respondents have close family relationships. 6, legally recognized, privileged, or analogous relationships, such as those of lawyers, physicians, and ministers. 7, religious practices, affiliations, or beliefs of the students or students' parents. Or 8, income other than required by law to determine eligibility for participation in a program or for receiving financial assistance under such program. It is understood that neither state nor federal law requires prior written consent from a parent, guardian, or student for administration of an anonymous and/or optional non-educational survey or questionnaire, since it does not require that identifiable information about a student be revealed. Prior to each instance of any non-educational student surveys or questionnaires being given, the determination as to whether the district should participate in the non-educational student survey or questionnaire will be made by the full school committee. If approved by the school committee, the non-educational student survey or questionnaire must then have the approval of the superintendent or their designee in advance, and the results shared with the superintendent or their designee. The school committee will also determine for each approved non-educational student survey or questionnaire whether to utilize an opt-in or opt-out procedure. The opt-in or opt-out procedures are the same as the YRBS, except the notice goes from 30 days to 15 days for the non-educational screeners or surveys. And again, we can certainly change that if everyone wants. Just these are more of the annual surveys that we give, and 30 days would bump a lot of these into one another, so we wanted to shorten that time frame, and the notice would be sent out, again, multiple times across multiple measures. So this takes, if we use the sort of 2 examples, if we use a vision screening, which is a state mandated screening, the school committee could say, we don't want to do that screening, it's state mandated, we'd have to sort of talk about how we would not do it, but the opt-out is an option for parents. The non-state mandated screener might be like the school climate survey, which I think we get useful information from, but you would need to approve the school climate questions. We would post the school climate survey questions publicly, and then people could opt in or opt out based on what you felt about the school climate survey. And that's, again, typically given in December, so we would have to have that available. It's available already, but we would need to make that available, and our intention is to make these all available year-round for everyone to look at, and then have the opt-out or opt-in button sort of right there for people to do, so make it as simple as possible. Some of the questions that people asked this afternoon were, do we have to go into school to see these? Again, our intention is to try to put them all online, everything that's available, so people can view them however they need to view them and when to view them, and again, and to make the opt-in or opt-out process as easy as possible depending on the decision of the school committee for that particular survey. Many of these surveys aren't going to be very useful if we do an opt-in, but that's really up to the committee, and we can talk about whether that is something the school committee wants to consider. So again, I think the opt-in or opt-out is very similar to what we just read, and these are for the non-educational screeners. This is not for a quiz or something that is curriculum-based, and we can talk about some curriculum stuff after, but this is for this particular policy.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, just one minor comment. Paragraph 3, consent of parent or guardian, can we add that language? Looks like it's just an oversight
Paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3, the last sentence is consent of the parent, so parent or guardian.
Yes, yes, sir. I see that.
That's like an error of omission, right? Nothing big.
I'm sorry.
And then, again, this, not necessarily opposing this upfront, it seems really broad in scope and to facilitate tools that have a very narrow scope of questioning. So you mentioned the SBIRT, the vision, scoliosis and all that, and it seems like the really broad scope of questions that we're looking to deal with for this. So are there other surveys we're looking to implement that would touch on these subjects? Or I'm just trying to understand, because again, it seems like it's really broad language on, hey, any of these things could be asked, but the tools we're going to use with this policy are very narrow in scope and don't touch on any of these areas. So it seems like there's a lot of catch-all language in there.
Through the chair, Mr. Brooks, I'm not quite sure I'm following you, so please correct me or help me. I think that we do have parents who want to opt their children and do opt their children out of the hearing and vision and everything else like that. Those are mandated screenings, so we wanted to include them, and we have to do that. This is more about making the opt-out process, I think, much more transparent and available sort of all year round. If we were to want to add a non-educational survey, I think the process would be we would follow this policy. We'd come before the committee. We'd have to explain why. So again, let's use the school climate.
Sure.
We're interested in what students and families think of what we're trying to do. We want to get that feedback. We want to share that feedback with you. So that would be the intent, and then you would look at the questions, and then the questions would be available, and then we wouldn't be surveying people about their political affiliation or anything else like that, obviously, because that's not what this policy would allow. We wouldn't do it anyway. It's not our care. But I just think that if we did have another screener that we were interested in, the process would be come to this committee, sort of make sure the questions are public, and then provide an opt-out an opt-out option for families if that's what they wanted to do. So I don't foresee us adding any other screeners. Again, this isn't a reading screener or a math screener or anything else like that. This is more of other non-educational aspects of what we're trying to cover.
Okay, thank you. Chris, question, comment?
Yeah, this is, it is a catch-all. It's every other questionnaire, every other survey besides YRBS. That one got its own policy. This one's everything else.
Sure. And again, like I said, it just feels overly broad, like, again, religious practices and affiliations and beliefs and, political affiliations. It seems a little strange that those are in there, and that would even be something that's considered in the realm of things we're going to ask.
I think Darren took that directly from the guidelines or the law. I'm not sure, so I think that's why he included it. We don't need to include it, but I think this was...
That's fine, like I said,
Yeah, it's legal.
I think it's better to make it clear to everybody, if it's something that's required, why not put it out there so people can see it? If it's something that, because people may not know that, right? Exactly. Any other? Nope.
No, and again, I think the subcommittee felt like we should move this forward to the full committee, again, for the first reading. So that's what we're doing. So we're moving it forward. Again, Darren will be here on September 9th. If you have particular questions or language or something, he can better answer those.
Yeah, I just want to, like I said, dig into some of those and I can send him an email for that.
Or you can
Easy
send him an
enough.
email, better answer them to me. And again, I have the Guardian add to that. And then, again, I think that he captured a lot of, or all of the issues that were brought forward in terms of the administration of the YRBS survey. So I think he caught all of those. And then we didn't want to stop there, so that's why we included all these other non-educational surveys.
Chris?
In order to facilitate the next meeting, if anyone has questions or issues of any sort, I would appreciate it as the subcommittee that you would send them to Eric before the next meeting so it can get, figured out, because we don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump the gun on your policy committee meeting today, too. I was kind of interested in hearing the feedback that came out of it. Because I know we had these, and then, like I said, it wasn't going to come out of it.
From our perspective, it was just, yeah, these policies look good, let's bring it to the whole committee. And if there are any questions or issues to work out, we should do it before the second reading, because then we need to vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the handbook, BHS handbook.
Yep.
Again, this is another first reading, Madam Chair. So Lisa, do you want to go through sort of some of the process of the handbook, and then I'll address some of the new language that you're going to see in all the handbooks.
So this process actually went through the principal, Mark Sullivan, and his ILT, or his instructional leadership team. And I think one of the things that they definitely worked on, whatever's highlighted in yellow, just so that you know, is something that they've added. That's a result of our legal folks giving us the updates to the law. And I know that one of the things that school really worked really hard on is making sure that they took a hard look at the grading policy and making sure that it was more consistent across all grades and across all disciplines. So that's one of the things that you will see that is also that they worked on. One of the things they also worked to clarify what were excused absences, because that was feedback that they had received from parents, so they wanted greater clarity on that. And really, they also talk about their competency determination. That was also added as well, too. I think one of the things that they didn't have in there before was clarification on what the values of learning are, and that's really important. It's their core values, and what their learner expectations are, and that came from throughout the department, and really taking a deeper look into what does academic dishonesty mean, and being greater and more clear about that. There was also some grading information that they also highlighted and made more clear, so you'll see that on page 22. Like, for instance, what does exceeding expectations mean? They list the percentage and the letter grade associated with it. So they just had a different format to make it more clear. And they also talked about, especially with grading, the state competency determination is on page 26 to 27 that they added. But I think what is made more clear, and I applaud them for that, is also being more consistent on what revision and retakes detail, and when they're unavailable and when they are available. Like, for instance, if someone is found to be academically cheating on assessments, then you can't do a revision or retake or corrections. And they also made it even more clear that the highest grade students can earn after the revision or retake is 80% of the total possible points for the initial assessments, demonstrating that they're meeting grade level expectations. But I know one thing that really Mark Sullivan worked on with his instructional leadership team, and also Shannon Janovitz, who is the instructional coach there, was just making sure that these expectations are more clear, that the language is consistent across the grade levels and also across the disciplines. And that's what they focused really hard on.
Dr. Chen, the handbook was reviewed by our
Our attorney, which is for
our student services attorney, so they reviewed the document. The grading policies have to be tightened up because with the loss of MCAS as a graduation requirement, grades and coursework are going to be more relevant. They were always relevant, but more relevant towards a competency determination. I also believe there's going to be changes because the state has a task force that's exploring standards for what a high school diploma is in Massachusetts now with the MCAS gone. So I'm assuming we're going to have to make adjustments to that. But currently there's going to be a lot more emphasis, I believe, on the courses students take, and then the passing grades in those courses. So, so that's what we discussed. Again, this is a first reading. I'll ask Mark to come to the September 9th meeting if there's anything really in particular that he wants to highlight. I want to highlight just a couple things, is again that the CD language is changing and evolving. And if you look at page 24 at the top of the page, the language that was added is really policy language that talks about the expansion of opting out. Again, we've been discussing opting out of screeners and surveys, but recent Supreme Court decision, Mahmoud v. Taylor, is allowing an opt-out of curricular content for sincerely held religious beliefs. So the attorneys have added sort of that paragraph at the top, and then Lisa and I and the principals are working on procedures that we need to make sure that are clearly communicated to families regarding opt-out language. And we spent most of our time this afternoon actually talking about the opting out of not the screeners or surveys, but opting out of curriculum content and defining what is content that actually is appropriate for opting out of. So it wouldn't be anything that's voluntary or like a club or something like that, because that's voluntary anyway. It would be content that an entire class is being expected to cover. And then obviously then the obligation for the district is to make sure that we are communicating what content we are covering, so that families, there's going to be a balance between I don't want my child to experience sort of anything that even approaches this subject. That's kind of not what I think the guidance that we're getting. It's going to be more like this lesson that's coming up involves something that I have a sincerely held religious belief against. I would like my child opted out of that lesson. The district's obligation then is to provide a curriculum or an equivalent alternative. And again, obviously, student grades can't be impacted by their opting out for a sincerely held religious belief. This is all evolving. If you're asking why we're sort of discussing it now, it's because it was just a decision that's made. We're putting this all together, but it's starting with this language from the handbooks, which is, again, I wanted to point out. And then we need to put together a process. There needs to be, this is not going to be a teacher-by-teacher decision. It's going to, the teachers, if receiving an opt-out, is going to need to communicate with their principal, and their principal is going to communicate with us, and then we're going to need to make sure that we respond to the parent, either asking for more clarification, a more, more detail, and then we need to confirm that the opt-out is actually happening. So there would be an acknowledgement of the parents that we received their request, and then an acknowledgement by the district that that we sort of agree, and then we would have to work out what the alternative was, if in fact it's there. Parents had great questions today about that, and a few things that were discussed is I don't want the district or anyone in the district to be in the business of questioning someone's sincerely held religious belief. It's not, I wouldn't know that, and someone wouldn't know that about me. So it's really not to be arbiters of the sincerity of that request. It's really about, are we following the right process? Is the request narrow enough? And then how are we, as a district, responding with an alternative if, in fact, that's something that we need to provide? So I think we have working on that. Parents also said, again, I think very smartly, if my child is opted out of a lesson, does that mean they're just sitting in the classroom and not getting that lesson? And I'm saying, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we're talking about the subject and just expecting the student not to listen or not to participate. So there are some logistics here as well. That's going to depend on the number of kids. principals are aware of this. They want to make sure that if the students need to go to an alternative location, that there's something for that student to do, and obviously that the students are supervised. So again, there's some very low-level logistical stuff with this, but I think the most important thing is acknowledging receipt, communicating back, asking for more information if that's in fact what we need. And again, I think the guidance that we're getting is not to accept a sort of broad global opt-out. We really want the responsibility on opting out to be on the parent. And if that's the case, then the responsibility on identifying what we're actually covering and teaching then is on the district, and we need to be clear. So I'm not sure everything we do is perfectly clear right now, so we may need to accept less specific requests, at least initially, but I think our goal should be to clarify what we're doing, and then to ask parents to clarify what their requests are, and I think that's what we're working towards. So again, Mr. Brooks, a long-winded answer, but we opt out all of a sudden about 4 weeks ago, broadened from screeners and surveys to really curriculum content across every subject. So.
Or their judgment, right?
Through the chair, Eric, you did a lot of talking today, a lot of great discussion about how we're going to be presenting what the curriculum is so that families are aware of what's coming up and how they, they can decide whether or not they want to opt out of whatever the lesson is, the material, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of changes coming in how we communicate that, and I think you did a good job of explaining that this afternoon, but I wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are you going through more on the handbook, or?
Well, in a nutshell, it's whatever is highlighted in yellow, and then the rest of it really is very slight legal changes that our attorney, our school attorney, has suggested that we made.
Right.
But those are the key changes.
I do have a question. I went through and looked at the cell phone. So I noticed that at the beginning of class, students are asked to leave their silenced phones in a designated classroom cell phone storage space. Have we decided what that space is yet?
We haven't, and I think some teachers have different options and what they're comfortable with. I think some teachers don't want it to be visible. Other teachers do want it to be visible. Others have shoe trees, or I call it a shoe tree. I'm not sure what people call it, the multiple pocket things that they, what?
Phone tree.
Phone tree, I don't know, that they put stuff in.
Different.
So we're allowing that to be sort of managed at the classroom level, and that seems to be working for the levels that we have it. There is some potential pending legislation that would be much more directive in terms of a bell-to-bell ban, and then we would have to talk about what we do at that point, and whether they have all these different products, as you can imagine, what sort of is going to work, and I think we need to talk to the people in the buildings who manage the students, and I think honestly, in speaking with them, the last thing they want to do is be sort of phone managers, but maybe there's a way that we can have the kids sort of check them in and check them out, and then we can address that. And then I think there's lots of parent safety issues that we need to talk about and address, so we would need to do that. And again, the bottom line is any child who's using the phone for a medical reason or anything like that, we're not talking about those kids at all. So there's always exceptions, and so I don't want any parent to get the idea that if someone is monitoring their blood sugar that we would take that monitor away. That's not what we're talking about.
You're talking about my grandkids?
I mean, I'm not talking about anyone in particular.
I just want to make sure that if it is a mandate, that we're prepared to come up with a solution. That's kind of why I brought it up.
Yes.
Because, again, I know there are different options. There are the options that you have the little bag that can go on their desk and it shuts everything off. I mean, I just want to make sure we're prepared, that's all.
Yeah, and again, Mark and his team are doing a great job, and Tim and Mark are trying to be on the same page. It's really going to be a middle and high school, I hope, issue. I'm not sure. I'm hoping we don't have a whole lot of elementary kids coming with phones, but we would have to make that pretty clear.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. Has it passed?
No.
Not yet.
So first it has to pass.
Right.
But if anyone was just listening and out there in TV land, take seriously the point about medical devices, because kids who need the phones for medical reasons will have them, and there's no question about that.
Right.
Okay.
And I think there's probably communication devices that are also, that could be involved with phones, and there are lots of exceptions that will be made.
It's all explained here in the
Yeah.
handbook, so. All right, anyone else? Okay, let's go ahead and go on to We Are Burlington update.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. Every time at this point in the school year, every year, you receive sort of a student profile. Our enrollment's down roughly about 40 students. Robin looked, again, she says down 33 students at the middle school. We had a large eighth grade class moving to ninth grade and a smaller fifth grade class moving to grade 6. So that sort of shrunk the middle school by about 33 students. Another thing to keep in mind is the hotel closed. The governor stopped using the hotels as shelters, so those families have been relocated and placed. So we saw the loss of some students as a result of that work. So again, I think some pretty impressive things are, again, we're down about 40 students that you can see, and the enrollment of every school is there. And we'll post all this information so people can see that. It provides the ethnicity, so about 1 in 3 of our students is a student of color. About 1 in 4 of our students were, I think, born outside the United States. It provides special education numbers. We have 60 different languages spoken in the home. So again, we're a very diverse district. We're seeing our English language learning population continue to grow. And so, as I said, well, actually, I was wrong. It's only 12%, 12.5% basically. 440 students were born outside the United States. So of the 3,500, we are economically disadvantaged is there, and we're staying relatively same. We have about 35 students who are connected to a military family. So, and that helps us provide services. So. This information is given to every principal. The principals share it with their teachers, so the teachers sort of know the makeup of their buildings. I've shared the document also with the select board, and I'll share it with Ways and Means as well, so you get an idea of the profile of the students that we're serving. So you can sort of look at that and sort of the trends. And again, ultimately, our enrollment drives a lot of our spending, so that's kind of it would be helpful. I'm assuming it would be helpful, but it's helpful for me. So so that's there. If you read through it and have any particular questions, Robin does a great job.
Chris?
Yes, I know last year there were people commenting that we were losing a lot of middle school kids to private schools, and that was actually not the case. So I wondered if you could prepare a document for us, just a brief list of the students that left, how many went to Shawshene, how many were left Burlington.
Sure.
For instance, those that lived in the hotel, and a limited, like an idea of how many went to private schools. I know there aren't many, but there are a few.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's go on to the next item, which is the Comprehensive Health and Physical Education Implementation Planning Grant.
Yes.
Give you all a break from my voice for a while. Dr. Chen, are you ready?
Yes. So Through the chair and this committee, you guys had asked me anytime that we were thinking about talking about anything related to any of the new health standards that I bring it forward to you, and this is what I'm doing. This is an implementation grant. And so what it is we're up for $60,000 if we were to reapply for this grant. And what this grant is, it would allow us the professional development for our teachers with the new 2023 comprehensive health and physical education standards. However, as this grant is written, the way it's written is that the teachers form a committee, and then that particular committee would then work with the wellness committee. So we would have to put back again, the wellness committee. We would seek parent volunteers, we'd seek experts, and the composite of who the wellness committee would be on, that's through school board policy. And it would be those two committees working hand in hand together, looking at every single standard of the new 2023 health standards, and going through each of the standards, reading through each of these standards, and then choosing those particular standards to bring forward to the school committee. And only then, after the school committee has said, okay, we're fine with these standards, would we even begin thinking about writing the new curriculum when it comes to the health and family life standards. Because the new standards, they're all very comprehensive, like what you had pointed out, Mr. Brooks, especially with the health standards. There are some standards in the health standards that weave in already. I call them family life, that's sexual health. And so we just wanted to take this step before applying for this grant to just share it with you and to let you know that before anything, right now we are in our 1999 standards. So there's a new standards, which is the 2023 standards. We have not updated that yet, but what this grant does, it provides professional development and guidance once we get those standards passed through those two committees to go before the school committee to get some professional development of the standards that have been now chosen of how best to, share that new information to the teachers and also to the kids of what we will be learning.
Thank you. Anyone have a question or comment?
Yeah, just a couple questions from me. So again, I know this is non-legally binding. We're required by law to teach the subjects. The framework DESE has provided is not legally binding. We're in the throes of 2 curriculum realignments right now, and it just seems like maybe we're biting off more than we can chew by doing this. And, as I dug through some of the backup material, if you look at the breakdown of where the funds are going, it's $35,000 to contracted services, which relays back up to bullet 1 and 2 that, bullet 1 says, hey, there was no change to the culture workload or whatever, but as you go down the list, we need this professional development and we have to pay for it because we don't have time, and it's a burden on the teachers. So it seems a little incongruent on the messaging that we're sending. Like, is it a burden on our teachers to do it, or is this something we need to do? Again, I think I still don't have clarity on some of that. Number one, that why are we doing it now, and is this the right time, and what statutory requirements aren't we meeting, versus, hey, it makes sense to do this now while we're in the middle of 2 large curriculum realignments. Are we going to lose focus on something that we're doing in a reading and math program, trying to take this on as well? And then the last question I had would be, while the Wellness Committee is involved, other communities have established parent groups to provide that input on what's appropriate for the town and what would be subjects that kind of get realigned. So I just wanted to know some details around that.
So I think, number one, this is a grant that in any time, for instance, you go to a professional development, you also have to pay for substitute teachers, right? And so that's part of what the grant is about. It's also taking a look at what other types of curriculum are out there to help us better align to the teaching of particular standards. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that it's too much that we have to bite off, because I think that this is somewhere eventually that we're going to have to go. We're going to have to adopt these new standards. But I think that the way the grant has been written, it's a process. And so the process is before the implementation of any writing, whatever has been chosen by both the Wellness Committee and also the teachers, it has to go before the school committee. And so you guys represent the parent voices. And so we would come through you, and then the Wellness Committee, one of their things in accordance to the school board policy is that you have to have representation. The Wellness Committee consists of parents. It also consists of people like out in the community that deal with, for instance, your social emotional folks. It also deals with doctors. So there's a whole list of people that you can choose on the Wellness Committee. That's going to be your large base of parent groups. And so really what I intend to do is I would really like to work with the two people on our school committee who are part of the Wellness Committee. I want to go to them and ask them, and principals, work with them and just say, hey, look, do you have some suggestions as to folks that we also need to contact, go through that list, and then actually not even send an email, but also ask these parents in a phone call, would you be willing to have your time to serve on the Wellness Committee, because our topic is going to be looking at the particular health standards. And I really hope to have parents of different perspectives be a part of the Wellness Committee. I was not part of the last Wellness Committee, but I do know that Amy Doty had reached out to a lot of parents, and the parents did not have time. So I'm really hoping that this time, since the topic is going to be about the health standards, that it goes to this particular committee. And I really do hope that I do have more parents that want to be a part of this committee.
Lisa, I think this is great. I think you're doing a great job in expanding and looking at the Wellness Committee by, I don't know if there are some people that are looking to leave the committee, but, cleaning it up, sort of, having some new people. I think that's a good plan, and I think we're already a little bit behind in looking at these standards, so I applaud you for having this grant and for doing the work now so that we don't get behind other communities in having up-to-date standards.
And just to share that the other communities are in their 2023. We are in 1999. So I don't want to deprive our students with this opportunity of what the new standards are. But I want to make sure in particular that because of that the parents are involved in this process. And again, this is the way it's written. It's written on paper that it's not going to move forward until the teachers and also the Wellness Committee come together. They go through every single health standard all the way from K to 12th grade. They are the ones that are going to then recommend that these are the standards before the school committee. It's going to come before the school committee and say, these are the standards that we want to delve into, go a little bit deeper into. This is what we're going to build our curriculum on. And even if people don't want to be a part of the curriculum, we now have this Mahmoud case now here that people can opt out. But I just want to make sure the process is as transparent as possible. And I hate any time if we have the opportunity to get $60,000 to lose money. That's also coming from me.
I know you have a question, you have a question, and I have a question, and you have a question, so I'm going to go with this.
I just want to
way in the
know
back.
when you think you'll make this happen, and when do you think you'll be ready to begin writing?
I think the first thing is I need to get together, and we need to reenact the Wellness Committee. So that's step one, right? And I need to talk to the two school committee members, right? I need to get from them recommendations. I also need to talk to the principals and get recommendations. I want to take the school board policy. They recommend on the school board policy, a doctor, the nurse leader. So I want to choose all that. They even talk about at the high school level, I think a student should be involved, right? And I'm going to ask the principals who are some students that can give me multiple perspectives, right? And then instead of sending emails, right, I'm literally going to go to the students. I'm going to literally call the parents. Mrs. Doty and I will call the parents. I don't want to send an email. And I want them to tell me, you know, hey, Lisa, it's okay, I don't have enough time. But at least I know that I've offered this many people the opportunity to serve on this committee to voice their opinion before it moves forward.
But how long do you think this process will take before you get to actually writing the curriculum?
I'm hoping to have, I really want to have the Wellness Committee up and running in about 2 to 3 weeks. So it's going to be a lot of legwork. I'm going to ask Amy Doty to help me out with this. I'm going to ask Rosemary, my secretary, to help me out with that. But I intend to make the phone calls sooner than later. And then where I need help is I need the help of the principals to give me, like, folks with different perspectives. I want to hear the different perspectives. That's going to be very important for this.
And I'm going to go Megan and then Jeremy.
Thank you. So as far as Jeremy's point about the fact that we're looking at and adopting multiple curriculums at the same point, what is the crossover between the people who are implementing and learning the new ELA curriculum and those who are evaluating the health and wellness?
So the health and wellness are only your PE and health teachers.
Okay.
So these teachers, to begin with, aren't involved with the UBD. They're not involved with the math curriculum that we're doing with Algebra 1, and they're not involved with the CKLA implementation. To Jeremy's point, it does take time, but I also have very good people that I trust and I work with. I work with Dr. Bonnie Nichols, Renee Sacco's come back. So I have good people on my team. So it's a balance, right? But we really need to get reading, it's a non-negotiable, and math up and running. And then once I get this committee up and running, we're going to be going through this committee and asking for their guidance and help. So this is not going to be behind the scenes. This is going out to the public and saying, hey, look, let's read through each of these standards and give me some recommendations.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess the other thing that this brings to mind is, do you anticipate staffing increases, additional burdens on the operating budget with implementing this? Is there going to be new teacher positions trying to be created again with curriculum realignment? We had to adjust the schedule for the CKLA implementation, so do we anticipate any requests like that? Because I'd kind of like to get ahead of that if we think that may happen. I don't know that it would, but again, it's just one of those things where I feel it's prudent to ask the question if there's other staffing or schedule changes that could occur because of this implementation.
Through the chair, Mr. Brooks, I don't foresee that, but I also, that'll become sort of, I think, evident as we move forward. I think this is about using the staff and the time that we have and just, and exploring the state standards that are most relevant and recent now, and then asking the community what they want us to do. And I think these are the folks in the district who have the responsibility of teaching this topic. They're all pretty passionate about it, and I think they just want to have a community conversation. We're not discounting the sensitivity of these topics. The opt-out currently exists and will continue to exist, and but I also think that we need to figure out what it is we want to do, and if people want to stay where we are, I still think we need to have the conversation. And we're not precluding an outcome, but I think we need to have this conversation, and this will help us. It's relatively short money, but it'll help us facilitate that conversation.
And then I wanted to also ask a question and make some comments as well.
Please.
So like I said, when we're trying to get parents to participate, I know that it's particularly, I think sometimes there's an assumption of how much the time commitment will be.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that you'll be able to communicate when you're trying to ask people to participate and just say, this is how
This is
much
the time
we
commitment.
think it's going to take. Because, again, I think we need to be upfront, because some people you might think it's going to be a lot bigger than it is, and when we finally tell them, then they might be more apt to participate. The other thing, too, is that I want to make sure that when you have the committee put together, that you alternate the times that you're having the meetings, because it's very frustrating when it's always at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or always at 8 o'clock in the morning, because people who are working a full-time job, they're not able to participate sometimes during the workday, because it's their workday, their paying job, but they very much want to participate or be a part of it. So we need to make sure that we hold meetings, that make sense and alternate them so that you get a good mix of people, participating all the time instead of someone not, participating because it's always at 4 and they didn't know it was going to be at 4, or it's during the workday. So I want to make sure we take that into consideration as well. And I know that may not, be ideal for people who are on the staff, but I want to make sure we take care of that.
And through the chair, I completely agree with you, because I think that with this particular curriculum, because of the complexity and the sensitive nature of it, it is, as Dr. Conti says, we and the teachers, we're really seeking buy-in from the parents and really understanding where we are. So I think that if you want a curriculum to work, you got to have everyone involved in it. And with this particular curriculum, it would be only important. I'm hoping more parents will, once I tell them the commitment and once we take a look at some alternating times, I'm hoping to get more parents involved and people with multiple perspectives and not just one way. I think we really want to hear it all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Again, I'm not necessarily saying we shouldn't relook curriculum. I just wonder about the resource expenditure for non-binding frameworks. Again, it's one of those things where we got to push those resources where they're most needed, and taking on something that's, quite frankly, not statutorily required may be a misuse of those resources. But again, I'm not against looking at it. It's just, again, I want to make sure that I'm clear about that, because again, we're going to spend a lot of time and resources doing this when we could focus resources elsewhere.
Thank you. All right, any more discussion? Or we want to go on to Journey to CARES, which is...
All right, so in our next thing, we're going to be talking about the Journey to CARES. So, Mr. Kuna, could you have that up, please? All right, so before we begin the slideshow, I wanted to highlight the amazing work that our BPS teams have accomplished during the past 2 months. In the business and finance team, the balancing of the fiscal year 26 budget and submitted the final reports for the expended entitlement grants. The communication team uploaded the Algebra 1 task force presentations, updated the parent support network. With the English K through 8 team, finalized plans for the letters training for the 2025-2026 school year, updated the summer literacy resources website on the BPS website. With the human resource team, planned and organized the annual required trainings for all district staff. With the math K through 5 team, beginning to work on BPS parent information website for K through 5 math. The mental health team co-hosted the final district-wide school safety committee meeting, attended the DESE Social Emotional Service Learning Grant end-of-year convening. With the nurse team, completed orders for supply for the next school year. Operations team updated the middle school field drawings and met with the capital plan working group. The special education team managed extended year services in July. And the student information office team registered over 50 incoming students for this school year since May 1st and rolled over the new schedule in Aspen for 2025-2026. And now for our slides. In slide 1, we see some wonderful pictures of some graduation ceremonies. And again, want to congratulate Principal Mark Sullivan for the MSAA High School Principal of the Year Award, in which Mark Sullivan is the principal of the state of Massachusetts. As you can see, we worked really hard during the summertime. There are pictures of our teachers and staff, even coming during the summertime to begin training on Amplify CKLA. We also had training that we received from the American Institute Research from a grant with Dr. Brittany Sterrett with the MTSS Behavior and Attendance Working Groups and the MTSS Academic academic working groups. Next slide, please. There's Sita Dervarsala, who is the instructional coach at MSMS, leading a workshop for teachers. There's a picture of us attending the BHS Building Committee meeting. We also, a group of teachers, worked on completing the math curriculum alignment for pre-K through 12 with consultant Dr. Kateri Thunder. And with the Algebra 1 Summer Skills Program, got a lot of feedback from both parents and students that they were very appreciative and that it was very helpful, and they liked the online, and they also liked the additional work sources. And we hosted 75 students for 3 sessions, and we're hoping to continue again that for next year, and also making it free for students. In slide 3, there is a picture of Shireen Tyrell, the Director of Career Pathways, and Superintendent Eric Conti speaking at an event in which Microsoft is a partner of our schools for our particular internships. That's very exciting. And in slide 4, a lot of great work over the summer. We had about 70 students participating in 3 new summer academic programs: artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and life sciences. It was serving students from Burlington, and we also invited students from surrounding districts. We had over 35 industrial professionals volunteered their time, and 7 college interns and 9 educator teachers provided instruction and guidance. For the Cybersecurity Academy, it was a 2-week program taught by Jerry Fattel and Matt Stimmen and a college intern. Students attended a field trip to MITRE, and guest speaker, cybersecurity expert Rob Neufeld, spoke with students about his career journey. SQL Injection Juice Shop Lab funding was provided through a grant from the Mass Cyber Center at the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative. Also, the Life Science Academy program provided hands-on experience in trading for micro-credentials through the Northeastern. Students met during the morning twice a week throughout the summer, and they were also doing some gene editing. This program was offered at no charge to Burlington, and special thanks to Burlington students for connecting the lab to our districts. And then there was the 4-week AI Academy, which is the first artificial intelligence high school work-based learning program in the state of Massachusetts. The academy provided students with field trips to Microsoft, AWS, Broad Institute, and 4 days at University of Mass at Lowell. It culminated in a project showcase attended by our Lieutenant Governor. Students learned about careers, gained career readiness skills, and completed projects using Python programming and machine learning to complete projects such as predicting colon cancer and recommending sustainable farming techniques. This program was made possible through funding from the AI Hub at the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative, and these photos depict the AI showcase and students' visits to, again, Microsoft, AWS, and UMass Lowell. I want to thank our community partners for this. I want to thank the school committee, Dr. Conti, and also Shireen Tyrell, who is our director of careers programming, career pathways, for putting this all together. Next, in slide 5, again, we show you photos of the artificial intelligence showcase, and our kindergartens enjoyed an exciting cross-cultural lesson where they combined their computer science skills alongside their literacy skill. In the next slide, please, we had summer programming for our incoming kindergarten students. These are particularly our multilingual students. We wanted to give them a head start, especially with learning English and learning kindergarten routines, expectations, and curriculum. Next slide, please. That's slide 7. Summer programming also occurred for our elementary age students. This program focused on our beginning learner multilingual English learner students with opportunities to integrate with students from other summer programs at Memorial. And transportation for summer school students was provided to families. And thank you again to the new Burlington vans and the volunteers who offered to drive them. And the next slide, please. Studies, the Wednesday morning bookmobile program at Lord Barron, and there is Principal McDonald bringing books and outreach to Francis Wyman, students and families throughout July and August. And in the next picture, we have parent volunteer and food pantry manager Julie Lewis and People Helping People volunteers to transport clothing racks donated by Lauren Dallas, Director of Marketing and Business Development and Burlington Mall, in preparation for the fall opening of the MSMS Wynn Street Closet. And finally, in next slide, in slide 9, you have your fourth graders who brought science outside to model erosion changes to Earth's surface and their impact on human development through Sean Musselman's stream tables. And then you have Science Center seniors gathering for graduation with their favorite animals. And then in the next slide, you have Aiko, Karan, and Alina Zhang are awarded the Science Center scholarships. And then finally, in our final slide again, wanted to just say congratulations and kudos to Shireen and all of those folks who participated. Again, it was a wonderful opportunity for our students. We were the first in the state of Massachusetts to offer this type of summer programming. There were other districts that we invited because they didn't have this opportunity, but what a wonderful way for our students to receive a leg up on understanding what goes on with the world, how their education matters, and what the skills and how it applies. And I will have to say that with this connection that we've made to the University of Massachusetts in Lowell, we have had more students now entering into their engineering program. And then finally, I've got great news that I wanted to share with you guys. This was embargoed until today. I want to do a huge congratulations. I told you that we would go for this. Dr. Bonnie Nichols, congratulations. We have been awarded over $450,000 we got the Prison 2 grant. I told you that we'd go for it, and this is for the Prison 2 grant. I kind of wish that it could be for the money that we had already spent on CKLA, but they kept on asking, could it be please, please, please? Nicole said, no, no, no. Lisa said they're very strict guidelines, but this is money that we can use moving forward that we won't have to ask the town for. So we said we're going to go for it. I told you we're going to go for it, and we got it. So again, congratulations to Dr. Bonnie Nichols for her hard work on this. $450,000 is not any change that you kind of just brush under the rug. All right, so some really great things are happening in Burlington.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a great way to end everything. All right, so I guess we'll go on to the facilities and finance.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So the budget transfer for accrued liability reserve fund. This is an old story, but a new story maybe for some of you, and I just want to make sure I credit Nicole for this and for seeing into the future. So the example that I want to sort of give to the committee is many communities got in trouble with their COVID funding because they spent a lot of it and they didn't incorporate it into their operating budgets, and they sort of created cliffs that they then had to really adjust to, and it caused lots of problems. I think Nicole sort of foresaw that. She absorbed a lot of the federal resources into our operating budget over multiple years and sort of smoothed out the curve. This is a very similar conversation where we have contracts that allow for accrued liability. This is for earned time, so vacation time essentially. When people retire, they get paid for that time. We don't really budget for that, but we keep track of who has how many days, when we think they're going to retire, and sort of Nicole has sort of modeled that all out. The town had an accrued liability reserve fund, because what you don't want to do is at the end of a fiscal year have a bunch of people retire and then all of a sudden find yourself short. So we asked, similar to the town, that we create this reserve liability fund. And again, the point is we're not asking for new money. If we have money that's available at the end of the fiscal year, we would come to the school committee and ask them to if we have need, sort of feed that accrued liability fund, and that's what this request is. So we're asking you to transfer $250,000 from the fiscal '25 fiscal year that just ended into the accrued liability fund that was established in 2021, again through town meeting. And that would allow us to, looking at our future models, what Nicole is looking for, make sure that we have the liability covered moving into the future, so the retirements that are coming up, we can cover without impacting future operating budgets or without having to go back to the town. We can't spend this money on anything else, so don't think there are rules. It has to be used for the purpose that we are identifying, which is sort of accrued vacation. But again, Nicole has also helped the district limit the accrual. So we're not just adding money as the accrual grows. What we're saying is now there are limits that weren't part of administrative contracts for a long period of time. Now we're asking people to make sure they use their vacation or they lose it. So we're also trying to manage the accumulation of the accrual as well as plan for the future accrual. So again, we're asking the school committee to let me just read it so you get the same information that's in your packet. Transfer $250,000 from available salaries for the purpose of funding the Accrued Liability Reserve Fund. The Accrued Liability Reserve Fund was originally established by town meeting in May of 2021 under Chapter 40, Section 13D for future payment of accrued liabilities for earned leave that is due to employees upon retirement or separation of employment. Again, the town also has a fund established for this purpose. The school committee originally funded this in 2021 through the same mechanism. The school department has implemented changes to the 12-month employee contracts over the last few years pertaining to enforceable caps on accrued vacation time in an effort to ensure this liability is more manageable going forward. Again, it's recommended that the school committee vote to approve the fiscal '25 operating budget transfer of $250,000 from available salaries for the purpose of funding the Accrued Liability Reserve Fund.
I'll make a motion, and then maybe we can have discussion. So I move to approve this request to move $250,000 into the Accrued Liability Reserve Fund.
Second.
Anyone like to discuss it at all?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So the $250K, does that give you enough budget ceiling if you had like a worst-case scenario where everyone of retirement, in a retirement window, if they all decided to leave at once? I don't know, that would never happen here, but does it give us enough ceiling to cover that if it, that highly unlikely eventuality were to occur?
Through the chair. So we currently have a balance in that account from when we funded it in '21. We haven't spent it. We've been able to cover some of the retirements that have happened here and there in the operating budget, which is great. But currently our liability in total is around $1.2 million for this, and there's $750 in the account. So the $250 would bring it up. And of course, as time goes on and COLA has happened, so the liability also increases. So this would kind of get us in the ballpark there.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Chris?
Did we return any money to the town?
Yes. About 240,000, so less than 0.3%.
Yeah.
All right, so you sort of split the difference.
Yes.
Okay, so between when this fund started and now, you have managed to pay for the retirement benefit without dipping into the fund?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do that this year?
We might have had like one or two, but no real heavy hitters that were carrying a lot of time.
Okay, but it was all covered by what we already had in the budget without using this?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, it tends to happen in waves, which just demographically, so we're sort of protecting for the wave.
That makes sense.
Generations.
Yeah, generations, right. All right, anyone else? Okay, so I guess we've had a motion, it's moved, we've had discussion, so everyone in favor?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, so it's 4-0-0. All right, Fox Hill Building Committee?
Well, We just had the meeting tonight.
Yeah, so I don't, we had a meeting tonight. I guess we're moving forward in a positive manner. There's a lot of, there was discussion about the playground and the equipment. We're going to have some additional information presented to us in terms of the type of equipment and which, you know, in terms of what we're requesting. So that was kind of what, big thing that came out of that meeting. So whether, unless anyone wants to add anything, I
Just
think that was pretty
one
much it.
highlight that I caught, the 90% budget will go up in October for MSBA. That's a pretty significant milestone because that gets us pretty close to realizing the project.
Thank you. And then as far as the high school building committee meeting, we have a community virtual meeting taking place this Thursday. We've been, I would say, reaching out to lots of different groups within the community, making sure that you get word out. We met with the select board they have decided on a timing of when we'll have the special election. It was proposed. So we've gone through that. We have submitted the preliminary funding for it, how much it's going to cost, the project's going to cost. That was presented this week to the the select board as well. So we've got a lot going on with that committee. So again, we invite people to participate in the community meeting and to come to our meetings with any, questions you have. So, again, we want to try and get a positive light on this and make sure everyone understands what the commitment is. Next is facilities. Bob?
Thank you. I got a lot to update the committee on. First, let me start by thanking the clerical staff, the custodial staff, maintenance department, and IT department for all of the work that's been completed this summer. Sitting next to me is Jeff Marsh. I want to welcome him to the operations manager position that was posted and filled. Jeff will focus on the buildings and grounds expert, building on the relationship with DPW, recreation, and the athletics department. He will also help with many projects that we have going on and future projects as well. Replacing Jeff in his position, I want to welcome Doug Stevens. He will be our central office lead custodian, and courier as well. I want to welcome Carrie Noak as the new food service manager. And then I want to get into a list of major projects that we've been working on. Again, a lot of these projects were funded at town meeting in May. A lot of these projects have a lot of lead time on them, so we've been able to order athletic scoreboards. We've installed or started to install the network refresh at all of our schools, but also on the town site as well, in town buildings. As mentioned earlier, we've updated and met to redesign the middle school field. We've worked on 7 bathrooms, gave them an overhaul at the middle school, the A and B bathrooms in the A and B corridors, and 3 bathrooms by the auditorium. New furniture for the middle school library has been ordered, doors and hardware at Pine Glen. We've had numerous HVAC and boiler projects throughout the district. We're working on our BMS and pump installation. We've signed contracts with that to begin that work, so just finalizing some details at Francis Wyman and Pine Glen. We will be starting tree work next week at Pine Glen. I know it's close to the start of school, but that's the availability. We'll be taking down some large trees and then trimming some smaller trees that are either overhanging the property or, the road work into it. We've done tile flooring in Francis Wyman, Pine Glen, the middle school. We have met multiple times and meeting tomorrow with the architect on the design work for the vestibule at Francis Wyman. We've renovated some gym offices at Fox Hill and some office space in Pod 4. Again, I'm sure I'm missing something, but it's been a busy summer, and it's still a few weeks to go. And the next update, we'll talk about buses, but again, I just wanted to make sure that I thank those teams and welcome those members.
Thank you. Any question? Megan?
I wanted to congratulate you, Jeff, on your new role, and also Carrie Noak, for food services director. My question is about the app for the school lunches. I had a parent reach out earlier this afternoon wondering, are we going to be using the same app? Will it be different? When are we able to communicate that to families?
The communication will go out soon. We're trying to finalize those details now.
Okay, great.
We have ordered food, so we will be prepared to serve food. We do have a menu that will be published. I don't know if I can promise this week, but it should be early next week at the latest. So then parents and students will know their choices for the whole month of September. But we do have some new software for the food services department. We will bring Carrie in and let her give some introductions on, some of her visions and plans. But we will be moving towards a new software that makes scheduling a little bit easier for the menu and also nutrition easier as well for families. So
Great. And allergy selections and that sort of thing too. Great.
that's the
Thank
vision
you.
of the new software, correct?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. So I guess transportation probably falls on you as well, Bob?
Yep, again, always down to the crunch. We have about 2 weeks until school starts. We have been working with the bus company. Again, we do not flip our student data over until the first week in August. So what we do is we typically send them last year's students and remove the seniors. And then once we flip the data in the first week in August, then we give them all the changes and updates. So we have a general idea of what the bus routes will look like. But this year we were also tasked with exploring new routes. So we're right now studying 2 different routes. I'll let you all in a little secret. I like the second routes better. They seem to be a little bit more efficient. I think the bus company definitely took some efforts into realizing that the efficiency of the buses could be improved. So those are there. But we still need to finalize some details to make sure that we're hitting all the stops, either requests that have been added, students that have been dropped, and just making sure that the routes are good. My intent is to have these posted on the website no later than the 25th, so next Monday. That would be at least 1 full week before school starts. If they're ready before that, then you have my word that they'll go up there, but the 25th is my target for now. So, and we will continue to use the bus app. So once the published routes are available on the website, it is possible, as every year, that some routes have changed. It's also possible that bus numbers have changed. So you definitely want, as parents or guardians, to review those routes and make sure you understand what bus number that your child would be on, because it's a new year, and if you do happen to have a new bus number, please go into the app, and then you would want to update that route as well to make sure that you are looking at your correct child's bus, or multiple children's buses. Sorry. So.
Thank you. That was actually one of my questions, is an update on the app, so
Right.
that's good. Yeah. Anyone else?
Just the bus routes, did we run them at peak traffic times and when they'd be going during the school year?
They are running the routes right now. When I say they, the bus company, NRT, they have been practicing the routes. Slightly tough to say peak time because students and staff and everybody else aren't really in right now, but they have been running them to get an idea of them. They've made some changes on their own to make sure. You'll see that some of the routes right now are showing a little bit of a buffer, and I know we introduced that last year. Maybe it was met with a little bit of concern, but knowing that we would need a little bit of time coming up, we're continuing that this year. So you may see that some of the buses potentially are 10, 12, 13 minutes early at the school. And that is to give us a little bit of window for some unknown traffic.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Any old or new business who wants to talk about? All right, so we do have need for executive session. MGL CA 3021A2 to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, school attendant. So I do need to have us take a vote to go into executive session. So Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And the chair is an aye, so we're going to go into executive session. And we'll return to public when we're finished with the meeting, and we'll adjourn that meeting after.